$8.04 US, down 20 cents. That is a decline of exactly 2.43% regarding the intraday market movement for Ondas Holdings Inc., ticker symbol ONDS, right now as we speak. If you are just tuning in and glancing at that red percentage on your screen, your first instinct might be to assume the momentum has stalled. You might be looking at the charts, seeing that slip in the price action, and thinking this is just another volatile day for a small-cap technology firm trying to find its footing in a high-interest rate environment. The expectation for a company like Ondas has long been one of wait and see. Investors have been trained to expect cash burn, regulatory delays from the FAA, and long pilot programs that take years to convert into meaningful revenue. The general consensus, the expectation, if you will, is that this is still a speculative bet, a company that is interesting on paper but perhaps years away from true commercial viability. You might even be tempted to compare it to the early volatile days of Tesla stock, where the vision was massive but the execution was constantly questioned by the street. But here is the reality that the market is currently mispricing, and it is the reason why this minus 2.43% drop might be one of the most deceptive signals on the board today. The reality is that Ondas Holdings is no longer just a concept stock running pilot programs. As of late 2025, specifically looking at the Q3 financials we have just digested, this company has fundamentally transitioned from a research and development outfit into a revenue-generating defense and industrial powerhouse. We are not talking about small incremental gains anymore. We are talking about a company that just posted record quarterly revenue of $10.1 million, a figure that is up nearly 60% sequentially and a staggering six-fold increase year over year. When you see a stock pull back 2% on a Friday afternoon, despite confirming a revenue ramp of that magnitude, you have to ask yourself if you are looking at a liquidity trap or an opportunity that the algorithms have not yet fully processed. Let's strip away the noise and look at what is actually happening under the hood of this drop. The volume today is slightly lower than the 10-day average, suggesting that this sell-off is not institutional dumping, but rather low-volume retail profit-taking after the recent run-up leading into the earnings print. When you use platforms like Interactive Brokers or look at the order flow on a professional Fidelity trading platform, you often see this kind of sell the news reaction, even when the news is objectively spectacular. The market expectation was for growth, yes, but the reality of a $110 million revenue target for 2026, which management has now put on the table, completely shatters the previous valuation models. Most analysts were modeling for half that amount. This discrepancy between what the casual investor expects, slow growth, and what the company is actually guiding for, exponential scaling, is where the profit potential lives. To understand why this matters, you have to look at what Ondas actually does because it is far more complex than just drones. If you are managing your own funds, perhaps through self-investing on a platform like SoFi Invest or even using a robo-advisor like Schwab Intelligent Portfolios, you generally categorize stocks into neat little boxes: tech, defense, utilities. Ondas refuses to stay in a single box. It operates as a system of systems provider. On one hand, you have Ondas Networks, which provides mission-critical private wireless networks for railroads and utilities. This is the boring but incredibly sticky part of the business. They use the IEEE 802.16 standard, often called .16, to allow massive industrial players like Class 1 railroads to run their operations securely. This is not the Wi-Fi you have at home. This is industrial-grade connectivity that prevents trains from colliding and keeps the power grid online. The expectation here is steady, slow contract. The reality, the mandate to modernize U.S. infrastructure is accelerating these deployments faster than anyone anticipated. On the other side of the house, and this is where the explosive growth is coming from, you have Ondas Autonomous Systems, or AAS. This division includes American Robotics, Robotics, and the newly integrated teams from Roboteam and their investment in Performance DroneWorks. The market thinks of drones and thinks of hobbyists or maybe delivery pilots. Ondas is doing something completely different: fully automated, drone-in-a-box solutions that require zero humans on site. Their Optimus system is the first of its kind to be FAA certified for automated aerial security and data capture. But the real game changer, and the piece of the puzzle that many who use a simple Robinhood app for trading might miss, is the aggressive expansion into the counter-UAS, drone defense, and tactical ground robotics space. Consider the recent acquisition of Roboteam. This was not just a bolt-on deal. By bringing in a company that specializes in tactical ground robots, machines that are already deployed in more than 30 countries, Ondas has effectively created a three-domain offering. They can control the air with Optimus, they can defend the airspace with the Iron Drone Raider, which physically intercepts hostile drones, and now they can control the ground with Roboteam's rovers. This is a level of vertical integration that is rare in the small-cap defense sector. It reminds one of the early ecosystem building we saw with Apple stock, where the hardware and software integration created a wall that competitors could not climb. Ondas is building a walled garden for autonomous industrial and defense security. Let's talk about that Iron Drone Raider system for a moment, because it is crucial to understanding the future valuation here. We are living in a geopolitical climate where drone warfare is rewriting the rules of engagement. We have seen it in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. The expectation from governments is that they need cheap, effective ways to stop swarm attacks. Using $1 million missile to shoot down a $1,000 drone is financially unsustainable. The reality Ondas offers is the Iron Drone, a fully autonomous interceptor that launches from a pod, locks onto a hostile target using AI, and captures it. It is reusable, cost-effective, and scalable. This is the reality that exceeds the market's expectation. The market thinks Ondas is a surveillance company. In reality, it is becoming a prime defense contractor for the age of autonomous warfare. The financials back this up. In the most recent quarter, they didn't just grow revenue, they cleaned up the balance sheet. They converted debt to equity, significantly deleveraging the company. They ended the second quarter of 2025 with over $68 million in cash. For a company of this size, having that kind of runway is critical. It means they don't have to dilute shareholders desperately just to keep the lights on. It allows them to execute on their M&A strategy, like the investments in PDW and Centrix. When you look at investment help forums or browse Fidelity Investments research, the #1 risk cited for small caps is liquidity. Ondas has addressed this aggressively, removing the bankruptcy risk narrative that plagued the stock in 2023 and 2024. Now, pause for a second. I want to hear from you. We're discussing a company that is heavily involved in both critical infrastructure, railroads, and active defense technologies. Comment below. Do you think the government will pass legislation in favor of the cannabis industry anytime soon? Or more relevant to this, do you think the FAA will accelerate approvals for beyond visual line of sight flights to support this industry? Let me know your thoughts on the regulatory landscape in the comments. Back to the charts and the sector momentum, when you compare ONDS to something massive like NVIDIA stock, the correlation isn't direct, but the thematic link is AI. NVIDIA provides the chips, Ondas provides the physical application of that AI in the real world. The Optimus drone isn't just flying, it is processing data, recognizing threats, and making decisions. This is edge AI in its purest form. While investors are crowding into the semiconductor trade, often ignoring the hardware manufacturers, the smart money is starting to look for the companies that are actually deploying this intelligence. Whether you use a Fidelity mobile app to check your positions, or you are deep into Interactive Brokers stock trading with complex algorithms, you have to look for the application layer of the AI boom. Ondas is sitting right there. The recent pullback we are seeing today, that 20-cent drop to $804, also has to be viewed through the lens of the broader Russell 2000 and small cap performance. High interest rates have disproportionately hurt small caps, but as we move through 2025, with rates stabilizing or potentially coming down, the rotation back into high-growth small caps is a macro tailwind that could send ONDS significantly higher. The company's backlog is sitting at record levels, over $23 million confirmed, with another $18 million related to acquisitions. That is essentially their entire next 2 quarters of revenue already booked. The market expects execution risk. The reality is that the orders are already signed. Furthermore, let's discuss the railroad aspect again because it provides a floor to the stock price that pure-play drone stocks don't have. The Association of American Railroads has selected the .16 protocol. This is the industry standard. This isn't Ondas begging for a contract. This is the industry aligning with Ondas technology. As these railroads upgrade their legacy 900 MHz networks to the new 900 MHz A block, Ondas is the primary beneficiary. This is recurring, high-margin revenue. It's the utilities aspect of their portfolio that balances out the lumpy defense aspect. If you are into online investing, finding companies with this kind of dual revenue stream, one steady and boring, one explosive and exciting, is the holy grail. If you are a retail investor, perhaps someone who started with Robinhood stock trading and is now looking to get more serious with individual brokerage accounts, you need to understand the concept of operating leverage.